Mute on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tips for Teaching Kids Financial Responsibility. My name is Amy Parton, and I'm on the education team here at GreenPath Financial Wellness. Since 1961, GreenPath has been empowering people to gain control of their finances and their lives. At GreenPath, we provide a variety of different services, including debt counseling, housing counseling, and the debt management program. Please feel free to check out our website at www.greenpath.org to learn more information about the services and information we provide. All right, so I'm really excited that you are joining us today, and hopefully your technology is working well. If it's not, feel free to chat in any issues you may be having. I'll be happy to help assist you navigate that through. What I'd like to do, though, now is kind of test it out. You'll notice in the lower right-hand side of your screen, there should be a chat box. And I just want to test this feature to make sure that it is working. So, if you wouldn't mind, could you chat to me where you're calling from? I'm here in Michigan, so just use the chat feature and share with me where you are calling from, and I will share that with everyone on the line here. All right. It looks like it's working. We have a couple of folks from New York. Welcome. Looks like South Carolina, Michigan, Illinois, welcome. California, good morning. Colorado, good deal. Okay, it looks like everything is working fine. Another thing, under the participant pane, which is right above that chat box, you should only be seeing your name. We kind of hide the rest of them for privacy reasons. The other thing, if you are joining us with more than one person, would you mind chatting in how many folks are joining in the webinar today at your location? And that way we can kind of keep track of how many folks we are talking with. All right. So I want to get going here because we've got a lot to cover. This is tips to teaching your children about money and financial responsibility, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to share 10 tips with you. So I want to start by asking you where you learned about financial responsibility. Use that chat feature if you would. Where did you learn about managing money? Was it from school or your parents? Did you try to figure it out yourself by maybe taking a class online, or maybe you learned from your mistakes, that, you know, class of hard knocks or school of hard knocks or whatever? Go ahead and share that, and I'm curious to see what those responses are. Okay. So, wow, nice. Someone chatted in that they helped their grandmother balance her checkbook. That's awesome. Couple of parents here, and then at the credit union, the hard way, school, a couple more parents. Okay. So I just think this is really fascinating, and I want to share this with you. Did you know that according to a recent financial literacy survey, about half of us who closely monitor our finances say we learned about money from our parents? So oftentimes we pick up both good and bad habits from our folks. And if we didn't learn those good habits, we may have learned to manage money the hard way, as someone had mentioned, and may still be paying for that lack of financial know-how. Also, did you know that most school systems don't require personal finance to be taught, even though I think we'd all agree that learning to manage money is one of the most important life skills we can teach our children. So I'm really happy that you are taking the time today to get some tips to teach your children about good financial habits. So let's get going with tip number 1. And that is to explain that money is earned. Now, I'm a parent, so I can say we love using that old adage of money doesn't grow on trees, and this is definitely an important lesson for kids to learn. It's important to back that saying up with teaching them where it does come from, however. So, when kids see their parents getting money out of the ATM or swiping a card for everything they buy, or maybe they're handed money every time they're asking for it, it's pretty easy to see where they get the idea that money is given and not earned. So, giving kids simple explanations at teachable moments is a great start. So, explain that when a credit card is used, you must pay the bill later, and that to get money out of that ATM, you've got to work to put money into the bank or credit union so then you can access it from that ATM when you need it. Also, giving children an age-appropriate allowance for chores or extra work they do around the house will help them to learn to appreciate that money is earned. Allowing teens to get a part-time job or summer job will teach them that they need to work to get the money they want. They'll need to do the things that they want. So, there's an app out there that you might want to check out. It's called QuestToCleanUp.com. And so with this app, parents can set up paid and unpaid tasks for kids to complete around the house. The child then can track their earnings as they complete those tasks and check those things off their to-do list as well. So they can decide, by the way, to save or spend or give up some of their earnings to charities. Now, kids can also create wish lists of items. They can create goals and experiences they would like to save towards, like maybe they want to go to the amusement park or something along those lines. The app will actually translate the price of a wanted item into a number of tasks still needed to earn it. So kids can decide if it's worth working toward, if it's worth 10 hours for an hour at the amusement park. They may decide that's not a good return on their investment. I don't know, but it also has some really cool information on it for parents. So I encourage you to go check that out. So tip number 2 is to install the habit of savings. So as soon as the child starts receiving money, whether it's from gifts or an allowance or whatever, it is really important to teach them to start setting some money aside for savings instead of spending it all. I understand that's a lot easier said than done, but the sooner you can instill that habit of saving, the easier it will be as your child grows older. And this lesson can also teach your child to avoid living paycheck to paycheck, if you will, as an adult. And by the way, a good place to start is with a simple piggy bank, And once they get a little bit older, you might take a trip to your bank or credit union and open up a savings account in their name. Kids will be motivated, hopefully, to see their savings grow. So teaching them to keep track of their balance or showing them how to read their monthly statement, that will help instill that habit of savings as well. So tip number 3 is talking to kids about wants and needs, and this conversation can't start too early. Children need to be taught that money is needed to run a household, and it's not just for spending at the store to buy things you want. So instilling the idea of putting needs before wants is a huge concept for children to understand. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Explain that, things that we need, like water and electricity and the phone, they must be paid for. You might even want to get them involved by asking them for ideas about ways they could reduce the energy cost next month or the cell phone bill or whatever it is. So trying to involve them in some of these expenses that are needs. Tip number 4 is to teach smart shopping. So, you know, a trip to the grocery store can be a great opportunity for learning. Let the kids see you and your list before you go, and you might even want to explain that you're only going to be buying the things that you've listed on that list. You could even use this trip to talk about impulse spending. It's a great kind of springboard for that. When children see something they want and start asking for it, you can always go back to, you know, that's not really on our list. So that's teaching them to avoid some impulse spending as well. You can also use this trip to show your child how to compare prices by maybe turning it into a game. You know, can you find the lowest priced jar of spaghetti sauce, for example? So for children, for an older child, you could provide a calculator and have them tally up the total as you put items into the cart. And if you set an amount for your grocery trip, you know, maybe you have a budget for it, you've set aside a certain amount, they could actually keep a running tally of how much you've spent so far. You know, that can really help kids see that, you know, if they add something that's not on the list, it could possibly be not buying something else that was. So that whole, you know, okay, if I get this and I hadn't planned on it, then I'm not going to be able to get this other thing perhaps. Another great concept and a concrete way to learn about limited resources. Okay, tip number 5 is to talk about the importance of giving. You know, we all want our kids to be financially responsible, of course, and that includes being a contributing member of the community. So some ways to get your child involved in the habit of giving. Well, okay, have your child use some of their money to buy things from the grocery store and give them to a local food bank maybe. I know around the holidays, a lot of the stores will have bags of groceries already put together that you can buy for $5, $10, $20. And then there's a bin right outside that you can dump those groceries in or that bag. And that's a really, really easy way for children to get the idea of giving. I know some kids are going to respond more favorably to buying food for pets, and that's okay too. A lot of times at pet stores you might see a bin that says donate a can of dog food or cat food or whatever. You know, that's fine. It's not necessarily about making a big splash, but just kind of contributing to the cause of their choice, right? They could also donate one of their toys when they buy or receive a new one. Have them drop coins into that donation jar that's a lot of times at cash registers. Older kids can research charities and pick out their favorite one to donate to. They may even want to sponsor a child. I know a lot of children are inspired when they're watching TV and they see those commercials for, you know, only 50 cents a day, you can sponsor a child and get updates on how they're doing. That can be really motivating as well. Those are a couple of ideas about ways to encourage your child to give. Do you have any ideas? I mean, do your children do anything? Do your teens have a way they like to contribute? Go ahead and use that chat feature. See if we can get any other ideas going about ways to teach our children to be contributing members in the community. All right, here's one, and it's basically they donate time, not money, which is awesome as well for sure. Okay, another give time to work at a food bank. Thanksgiving dinner for the homeless, absolutely. Activities with the church. Yeah, okay, so just some other ways to teach that lesson is awesome. You might want to talk to your child about it and see if they have any ideas on ways that they can contribute. Okay, we're going to move on. So I have a question for you. What's the average age that Americans get their first credit card? What do you guys think? 18, 20, 23, 26? Use that chat feature. Let me know your guess. The average age that we get our first credit cards. Okay. Well, I'm getting A's, B's, and C's. All right. It looks like the C's have it. So 23, the majority of you are saying 23. And I want to share with you, actually, the age is 20. And so why am I bringing this up? Because it's really important at age 20 to explain what credit is and how it is established, right? So it can be a really good idea to allow older teens and young adults to get a credit card. And I know some people don't go there, but to get a credit card while they're still under your roof. And the reason is this is going to allow you to teach responsible credit behavior, you know, help them monitor their use instead of allowing them to navigate this on their own and perhaps having to learn how to manage it the hard way. So a few things to keep in mind when you're teaching credit is you don't really want to use a debit and prepaid cards as training wheels for a credit card. This can actually give kids the wrong impression. Explain the difference that when you put money on that prepaid card, it won't let you go over. It'll stop you. Whereas a credit card, maybe not. Especially if you have those features that allow you to have a little bit more a limit over the credit limit. So you don't want to give your child the impression that a credit card will stop them every time if there isn't enough money in the account. Okay. Also, explain the difference between credit and debt. Now, for example, you don't have to be in debt to have good credit, and you can use credit to make purchases without going into debt if that bill is paid off, during that grace period. Help your child understand what will build credit, such as keeping their balances at zero and making on-time payments. You might want to teach them how to read. You definitely want to teach them how to read and understand their statement, point out fees and interest that will be charged if they don't pay their bill on time. Maybe even get a calculator out and show them how much it might cost if they don't, and just pay that minimum amount. Now, like I said, I know some people aren't in agreement about allowing their teen or young adult to get a credit card. So even if you don't agree with that and don't allow it, it is still important to teach these concepts so that they're aware that if they get one when they're on their own, they can handle it more responsibly. Remember, knowledge is power. Don't let your child be vulnerable to those credit offers that they're going to receive that may or may not be in their best interest, or really that can, and this is typically what happens, that can lure them in way over their heads financially. So even if you don't believe in allowing them to have a credit card, teaching them about credit cards and what they're about is important for their financial well-being and future. So tip number 7 is to encourage goal setting. So we all need to have financial goals. Kids are no exception. The savings discussion actually can easily coincide when you're teaching kids about setting goals. They'll be more motivated to save if they know what they're saving for. That makes sense. And at first, typically, kids are more motivated to save for a game or a toy that they want, you know, and that's okay. Don't forget to talk to them about longer-term savings, though, as well. So maybe as they're getting a little bit older, you know, a car or college, moving out, those kinds of things. It can be helpful to have your child separate their savings by goal to make a distinction. What do I mean? So maybe you have an envelope or a piggy bank or something, and the money that's in there is going to be used for a video game. That's their short-term goal. And their savings account could be used for a longer-term goal, like the college or a car, something along those lines. What are some other goals that you think kids and teens save for? If you don't have teens, I bet you can guess, but use the chat feature. What do you think? What are some other things that kids are saving their money for? 3 just came in right away, video games, okay. All right, a graduation trip, phone, cell phone, travel, another cell phone. Yeah, cell phones are huge, aren't they? I mean, I'm going to date myself, but, I can remember back when I was first married, we didn't have cell phones, and the cell phones were like bricks, actually. So all of a sudden, within the last 20 years, a huge part of our budget is going to this expense for phones. When you had a landline, maybe you would spend $10 a month. Now, if you're on a family plan, you may be spending $200 a month for communication. So, yeah, that's a big one, a cell phone to save for that. A laptop, another trip. All right, yeah, so you know what, we got together and we kind of, there was a poll that was taken, and things that kids save for is a game or a toy. You guys got that one. Car, special events and activities, so that travel probably would fit there. Clothes, college, and gifts. So, yeah, they have a lot of things that they are saving money for. So, even if you don't agree with what they're choosing to save their money for, really want to still encourage them to set goals and to save towards those goals. All right, so tip number 8 is allow your child to make mistakes. Ooh, is that one ever a big one. So even if you know or think your child is about to waste their money on a toy they'll soon tire of, you might want to let them just go ahead and buy that item anyway, because it might just teach a lasting lesson. Now, like I said, I'm a parent too, and as a parent, it is easy to want to shield our kids from consequences, but sometimes this is the best way for them to learn. If they fail to plan ahead and spend all of their allowance for the week, and now they want to go to the movies and they want you to give them the money to, you know what, be strong, don't give in. That's only going to teach your child that they don't need to save or plan ahead because they know you're going to bail them out. So remember, it is better for kids and teens to learn consequences under your supervision when the stakes are still low, as opposed to when they get out on their own and it can be really costly. All right. Tip number 9 is to make learning fun. No one wants to learn just for the sake of learning. Well, a lot of people don't, some do. So many adults, here's the thing, many adults associate stress with financial topics, but it really doesn't need to be that way. So, when finances are managed well, they are really just a tool to help us get what we need and what we want, and it helps us reach our goals, of course. So it's important that we don't communicate to our children that money is stressful or that we, want to avoid it or avoid our bills or whatever, and instead make learning about it fun so that they'll be encouraged to learn more. Now, there are a lot of tools that can help us with that. Kids love, for little ones, kids love play money. Young kids can learn the names and values of coins and learn how to count it up. A cash register can help them learn to accurately make change for a purchase. And so that involves not only numbers and counting, but math as well. So you might want to check out a couple of websites, kids.gov. They have interactive online games, videos, and comics to help kids learn about money. There's a tab there for parents as well. Themint.org is also a good site. You can see there is a tab for parents and for kids, and they even have a separate tab for teens. And finally, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has a site designed to help too. It's at consumerfinance.gov/parents. And the last tip is to be a good role model. Now, I guess this is the most important tip of all, because no matter what we're trying to teach our kids, if they don't see their parents practicing good habits, they will be less likely to follow through on good habits. At the beginning, I asked, where did you learn about finances? And a lot of you said your parents. Notice I didn't ask you if those habits were good or bad, but regardless, being that good role model is so very, very important. So before you can really teach those good money management concepts to your children, make sure that you have a budget, a savings plan, short and long-term goals. Maybe let your children see you working and managing your money wisely. That's a fantastic way. I really liked someone chatted in that they would help their grandmother balance their checkbook. That's fantastic. I think that, making it less taboo to talk about it and more of a community activity will help teach children that money is not something to be, afraid of, and that it's just something to work with. And that's a great lesson in and of itself. So I know we talked about quite a few things today, so I want to ask you, what are your next steps? Are you going to visit one of the websites or maybe talk with your spouse about managing money and how you want to teach your children about it? Maybe you want to talk to your child, or are you going to do nothing? Use the chat feature. Let me know what your next steps are. All right. Well, hey, someone said definitely not do nothing. Okay, that's good. All right, looks like most of you are going to go to those websites first. And that's great, because they do have a lot of really good ideas to help you navigate through teaching your children about financial responsibility. Talking to the child is great as well. All right, getting some play money and making a game of it. That was one of my, I have two daughters, so my daughters used to love their cash register, and they'd get the canned goods out, and play store. It's amazing. That's like a timeless game or something. Have a family meeting with the kids to discuss money and bills. Yeah, you guys, this is great. I'll be visiting the website with my 11-year-old. Fantastic. 11 is a good age to be talking about money. They're probably going to be making money here within the next 5 years or so perfect. All right, that was your call to action and some suggestions about what you can do from here. So I'm going to open up now and ask you if you have any specific questions or anything you want to share with the rest of us about teaching kids financial responsibility. Use the chat feature. And while I'm doing this, if you need to go, if you'd like to go, that's fine too. I want to thank you for your time today. Again, check out our website, www.greenpath.org. There's all kinds of information about our services, what we do. There's some financial education material there as well. You're welcome to schedule a free phone or in-person assessment to meet with one of our financial wellness experts as well. We can review your credit report and you can receive tips tailored to your own situation if you have any questions about debt and managing your debt. Also, I just want to say again, thank you for joining us. We have these webinars every other Wednesday, and I want to encourage you. So our formats are going to be changing. It doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to have this webinar. We may have some Facebook Live events. So watch our website because things are changing here at GreenPath for the better and trying to help meet everyone's needs as far as financial education and just changing it up a little bit. All right, thanks again, and you're welcome to sign off now. You'll be getting a Survey Monkey when you close out of the webinar, and it's 5 or 6 questions, and it probably won't take you any more than a minute, so we'd really appreciate your feedback. And for those who are leaving, thanks so much. All right. Let me see if anyone has chatted in any questions. Oh, you're welcome. Someone said, I learned so much. I'm going to be joining webinars more often. Okay. Yeah, all right. So here's a question about allowance and age. So, so the idea, a lot of the experts say that you shouldn't be giving your child an allowance until they're able to really understand, you know, the value of money as well as ways in which to manage their money. So it's typically around first grade that they begin to learn about money and math. So this is sometimes a great age to start them with an allowance. And the average allowance for children ages 6 to 8, I looked this up because I have given this workshop before, and this is a common question. Average allowance for children ages 6 through 8 is $5. $7 for children 9 to 11, and $17 for ages 12 to 17. And those are just the averages. That, you know, you don't want to adhere to those. It's no big deal, but just to kind of give you an idea as you're navigating through. All right. Ooh, that's a very good question. Oh my gosh. How do you explain to your kids why they are getting paid to do household activities, but adults don't get paid to do the same activities? Well, so it kind of goes to the discussion that people often have about the whole idea of allowance. You know, why should a parent pay their child to make their bed when that's just an expected responsibility, being a member of the household, or loading the dishwasher or whatever. So this is going to really depend on you and your values and the kind of discussions you have with your children. As far as I know that sometimes people will have a list. Okay, these are these are things that you do around the house as citizens of this household. Here are some tasks on another list. Here are some tasks that you can get paid to do, extra tasks above and beyond that citizenship thing. As far as adults versus kids, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. I know there's a lot of rules that apply to kids that don't apply to adults. I mean, there's just a distinction. So making that distinction is, when it comes to tasks around the house, I think is okay. You know, in a way, I think I would just make that distinction. Does anybody else have any ideas about how to explain getting paid to do activities that adults don't get paid for? Yeah, I'm not sure, other than, like I said, you know, as citizens, as parents, these are things that we do as parents. And these are things you do as a child or a citizen in this household. And these other things, well, you can get paid for those. If anyone has any other ideas, they're welcome to chat that in. That's interesting. I'm curious as to if a child asked that. All right, any other questions? How young is too young? Okay, I'm assuming that means to start teaching about money. And again, you know, if you have games around or coins and play money, that's great. I actually knew a family that the kids really, what got them really interested in money is it kind of piggybacks on this getting paid to do things that parents don't get paid to, but they were teaching making beds and keeping rooms straight. So the parents, when the child would make their bed, well, the parents would leave a quarter on the bed. And with the understanding that they would check every single day, but some days they would and some days they wouldn't. So they had some good luck because the kids actually kind of saw it as a mystery game, you know, like those mystery packages. Oh, did they check today? Did I get paid today? That kind of thing. So it was more of a game than actually earning something, but it did encourage the kids to make their beds. So their mission was accomplished. All right. Well, it looks like we're all set. I'm not getting any other questions in, so I am going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. And thank you again so much for joining us, and I hope to see you again in a couple of weeks for our next webinar Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone.